Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys our NCP Season 6 Week 6 battle against Hayes and his New Orleans Noivern. As I'm sure you guys know, my pack last week is still late. This video is going up later in the day. I'm recording this day of. I'm very busy with school right now. It's finals week this week and next week. I'm doing a lot of like finals depending on the class and stuff like that. So stuff will resume as normal, but I didn't have time for Team Village Slice this week. Sorry. Just the way it is, unfortunately. But we're going up against Hayes. Hayes is an awesome kid. I really like the guy. He's having a pretty unfortunate season, but he has a really solid team. So we definitely have our work cut out for us. If you guys do enjoy today's video, though, be sure to drop a like as well as sub to the channel. We're just hit 700. We're on our way to 1,000. So if you could help me out along that journey, I would really appreciate it. And yeah, that being said, I'll just give you a quick rundown of the team that we're bringing. You can see the team on the left that Taze has. He has the G-Darm, Nidoking, Dragapult, Keldeo, Delmise, and Togekiss. While our team consists of a Scarf, Garchomp with Earthquake, Outrage, Dragonclaw, and Stone Edge. Pretty darn simple. Good way of revenging a lot of things on his team, whether that be a weakened G-Darm, if we don't want to click Stone Edge, you know, Earthquake and stuff like that after rocks. Nidoking, the Dragapult, a non-Scarf, Keldeo, things like that, which is great. If we can eliminate that Togekiss, we're in a great spot. Then we have a Magma trend with Magma Storm, Earth Power, Protect, and Stealth Rock. We're pretty offensive, but, you know, got a decent amount of bulk as well as speed F-wise. We have a Swords Dancing Scolipede with Poison Jab, Earthquake, and Throat Chop. Does really well in this game, in all honesty. If I can position that Swords Dance, we can honestly just win with it. Then, next up, we have a Moonblasting Sylveon. I was really scared of Throat Chop Pult, but then I looked after the game, and it doesn't get Throat Chop. So, this is a bit of an oversight on my end, but it's not too big of a deal. Where Moonblast, Wish, Protect, and Psyshock. Psyshock to catch that Nidoking on the switch-in, which is obviously very nice. And, yeah, it's cool. Then we have an Agility 3 Tax Thundy, which goes crazy with T-Bolt, Agility, Dark Pulse, and Psychic. Really hits the entirety of my opponent's team for super effective damage, besides the G-Darm. So if we can position this thing with an Agility, get some chip on some things, we'll be in a good spot. And then we have a pretty Spidef Jellicent with Scald, Nightshade, Recover, and Toxic Super Nightshade in case it's like Calm Mind Keldeo. We can, you know, stop it from subbing and Calm Minding, though I don't expect it to be because I think any sub Sylveon is really bad in this matchup with Jellicent plus Sylveon. So we'll see what ends up happening. But let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to zoom in a little bit. As you're going to see, I am going to lead off with my Heatran. We do have Protect on our Heatran, so we can really scout for any choiced items if he wants to be a G-Darm lead. And I don't have the greatest G-Darm matchup, in all honesty. And I can see it leading, trying to threaten out potentially Scolipede or my Garchomp or different things like that. And even a Heatran with an Earthquake or something like that. So we got to be very careful about it, of course. And being able to protect and scout, I think is going to be nice. Or like a Specs Pult, because Specs Pult is also very scary versus me, depending on the team that I elect to go with. So gotta be very careful about that. We are going to see Make Believe be the lead, though, in Nidoking, and that's really unfortunate. We can't really stand on this thing. We could protect and see what it wants to go for, but if it gets up Rocks turn 1, we get nothing out of that exchange. So again, we have to be very careful about that. I believe I am just going to hard switch out this turn and go right into my Jellicent. I am pretty darn Spidef Jellicent, so I should be able to take this thing on pretty well. I think I contemplated Thundy, but in case he wanted to be aggressive and catch me with an Ice Beam, expecting my Garchomp to pivot or something weird, it wasn't worth the risk at this point in time. My Jellicent is here to check this thing, so we might as well switch it in to check this thing, if that makes sense. And plus, he doesn't switch very well into Scald or anything like that. Jellicent stabs, which while we don't have Shadow Ball, Shadow Ball plus Scald is very annoying versus his team, so he's got to be very careful. So we are going to pivot onto our Jellicent right here. Big old shiny jelly, as we are going to take a nice little Earth Power there, showing that this thing is not Life Orb. So in my head, I'm thinking potentially Shuka at this time. At least that's my initial thought, as I am going to get some leftovers back. And I believe this next turn, I'm just going to attack what's in front of me or just throw off a Scald, because of the fact that Thunderbolt can potentially 2-hit KO me from here. No, I guess it wouldn't unless it was Life Orb, but regardless, I can always just slack off the next turn if need be, and being that I saw this thing wasn't Life Orb, I can always switch on it again and, you know, recover off the damage no matter what it wants to go for. So, not really in a point where I need to recover here, if that makes any sense. The Nidoking is going to switch out into Soda, the Keldeo, which is very interesting as this is my check to this. So, in my head, I'm thinking maybe he's just a Toxic variant and he wants to get a Toxic off on this thing. In my head, I'm thinking there's no way that this thing is Sub Calm Mind, right? Because Sub Calm Mind just doesn't beat a team with Sylveon Jellicent in the sense that I can be Heal Bell, I can be Hyper Voice and just kill you through Sub. Like, there's plenty of options I have to potentially just push past this Keldeo. Realistically, I didn't think Keldeo would come in this game in general. So I'm just gonna go for a Toxic myself and try to trade Toxicity. We do see a Sub, which absolutely blows my mind personally. I was very, very surprised about this and very surprised to see this, especially because this thing isn't protect, so you going hard into this doesn't really make it beat me 1v1 if I just Nightshade or Shadow Ball or anything like that. We have Nightshade, which guaranteed breaks this thing sub too, so I was incredibly surprised to see a sub-toxic Keldeo in this matchup. I understand it for Jellicent, and a lot of times you'll see it come for Jellicent, very often in fact. But Jellicent plus Sylveon makes me think that that's not worth it. And you also see, I also learned after the game, this doesn't even have fighting stats, so it's also even Scrafty fodder, potentially. The team in general was very weak to Scrafty. So I found that very, very interesting. I am just going to Nightshade and break this thing sub. Put myself in an okay position, I suppose. And this thing's gonna, you know, go ahead and lose that as I expected to Toxic there. This next turn, I believe I am just gonna throw off another Nightshade. This is enough guaranteed damage. In case he wants to sub again for some reason, if he shows Protect, I'll know he only has one attacking move, which is also good to know. As he's potentially set up fodder for my Scolipede if he's mono Secret Sword. If he's mono Scald, it's also good to know. Offensively, that's what we're dealing with. Same thing with my Thundy. Again, I just really didn't think Keldeo in general would come this game, and especially a more passive set like this. I don't know. I was very interested to see sub-toxic. Maybe like a toxic protecting variant. Could push a little bit of progress, especially because he can switch into Sylveon decently well. But he's just going to go for a sub again, showing that he does not have Protect, or he's just not clicking it there. And we are going to break this thing sub with a Nightshade, which is, again, very, very nice for us. So we're going to go ahead and break that right there. As the sub is going to fade on here, Keldeo, and it's going to get a little bit more residual lefties. I am going to kind of zoom through a lot of this stuff. I believe this next turn, I am going to pivot out, as if he wants to sub again, I go into my Sylveon, even though I'm not Hyper Voice because I'm an idiot and thought Pult got Throat Chop for some reason. I was terrified of that coming. I have no idea, guys. I'll be honest. It was really bad prep. This will force him out, and he's not going to stay in on my Sylveon coming in here. And, you know, take that Hyper Voice potentially. As we do get said, so he does go for another substitute, but he's forced out here. And this is what I mean by this set not really pushing any progress or forcing any progress. If anything, it kind of loses you momentum when things like this happen. Because if I'm a Baton Pass variant, or if I make an aggressive double, or if I call that Nidoking with a Psyshock, which I'm going to try and do right now, it's just not going to work out very well for our opponent. So I am just going to throw off a Psyshock. We do see a nice middle ground, though, in the Dhelmise. Not going hard Nidoking, which definitely makes sense, because we definitely would have 2-hit KO'd it with Psyshock, and I probably wouldn't even taken that trade being that I saw it wasn't Life Orb. This thing's going to take a little bit of damage right here, and I believe this next turn I am going to throw off a Protect in order to kind of scout, see what this thing wants to go for. It goes for an Earthquake to try and catch my Heatran coming in, which definitely makes sense on a potential Anchor Shot or even a Power Up or Poltergeist, which is great. And I can't really risk my Heatran right now, especially because if this thing's AV, it lives a hit from here. So I'm unfortunately going to go into my Thundy. Again, hindsight 2020, maybe I should have gone into something else. Maybe I should even had Scrafty on this team in order to check this thing. But you live and you learn. We are going to get hit with a big Poltergeist right here, which is really, really unfortunate. We do live this guaranteed, but we're going to take a ton of damage in the process. And now, if we could bait a miss here, that'd be great. Regardless, I'm just going to go for a Dark Pulse and Prime Break through this thing. And it's, again, another case of me kind of throwing away my Thundy when it had a really good matchup to potentially just win later on. So, a bit unfortunate, but it's kind of the story of our season so far, at least, as we are just going to go ahead and Dark Pulse this thing. Do a little bit of damage right here. Bring it down below half. If we get a flinch, that'd be great, but not us. We are going to get attacked by the Poltergeist and our heavy-duty boots, and our Thundy is going to go down here, unfortunately. Now, this is fine, though. All I have to do is I go Heatran. I can revenge this thing with a Magma Storm, and he really doesn't break Heatran all too well, especially considering, or switch into it, especially considering that his Keldeo is so low, because he decided to sub up a bunch, and I can always just go right out into my, what do you call it? My Sylveon and scare him out. I can even just stay in an Earth Power and try and pick him off or something like that, as well as he might even just go for a Toxic to try and catch me on the switch in, as I don't need this thing at full health either. But unfortunately, we're gonna miss, and that's really bad. We're gonna go down here to an Earthquake. We're just gonna immediately die, which is absolutely brutal for us. We're going to lose our Heatran, and you're going to see this pretty much puts us in an almost checkmate position. Again, just off this dumb miss right here, because we still have a full health Heatran. We kill this thing with Magma Storm. We're modest. We're not max special attack modest, but we killed this thing with a max special, or with a modest Magma Storm. I'm going to be forced on my Scolipede, and if you saw the rest of his team, he was incredibly weak to Scolipede in general, as I am just going to go for a Swords Dance. I don't even kill this thing with a Throat Chop from here, depending on his bulk investment, so I am kind of forced to go for a Throat Chop and or a Swords Dance, and maybe just go for game from here. We can also bait a miss potentially, which is really, really clutch in my opinion, as we are unfortunately going to get hit, as you would imagine, as right here we are just going to go right for a throat chop and knock this thing out the next turn. But again, had to give away some more stuff than I wanted to take down this Delmise. And Magma Storm is really turning out to be my least favorite move after this season. We lost our game to J-Bear because we missed it. And then this game is nigh unwinnable now because, again, we missed a freaking Magma Storm. So maybe it's just me and the move, we don't get along. I really couldn't tell you guys. We're gonna see Nidoking come out here. This thing can be Sucker. It also could be Shuka, which is what I was expecting here. And in my head, I'm like, where do I need to pop this thing? Shuka. Maybe my Garchomp can win if he throws away his Togekiss for some unknown reason. The Togekiss that I can't really break, so I am just going to go for an Earthquake. He's actually going to reveal to be Sucker Punch right here, which is very interesting. He was like a Focus Sash lead set. He was really scared of like spiking Scolipede for some reason, despite him having a pretty good Spikes matchup in my opinion, which is why I didn't bring it. Which again, this is kind of just going to seal the game. There's not much we can really do from the position in which we are currently at. I believe I'm going to elect to go into my Sylveon. I need to chip this thing into range of the rest of the Pokemon on his team. Maybe I could have gone Jellicent here instead and thrown off a Skull, but I felt like he had pretty decent pivots into it. He's just going to go throw off a Sludge Wave. We're going to take a lot of damage right here, down to 55, which is just great. We're going to break this thing's Sash, which I didn't know it had obviously at the time, but I know in hindsight. Do a ton of damage to it with this move. And potentially 2-8 KOing it, unless, you know, besides the fact that we're outsped and nuked this next turn. So I believe the next turn after this, I'll go ahead and skip past it because I do just click Protect. And you just go for a Sludge Wave again. And I believe this turn I am going to try and pivot into my Jellicent, kind of making me realize I probably should have just gone Jellicent in the first place and just Scalded and tried to put this thing in range. But the tilt at this point was real. The tilt was incredibly real. From the Subtoxic Keldeo against the Sylveon matchup into that Magma Storm miss, I was pretty darn upset, to tell you the absolute very least. So he is going to go down to this next Scald this next turn, which is completely fine with me. I am 100% down for that trade, as it is going to go down. Our Jellicent's going to be basically dead right here, as I believe the Dragapult is going to come out next. It is just going to get Nightshaded by me if it wants to potentially attack me. Maybe Toxic was a little bit better of a play, but regardless, we're going to get taken down by a Shadow Ball here. No shot, we're living, obviously, at 59 HP. From full, we could definitely live one, but it's not that big of a deal. As down it goes. Next up, I believe I do go into my Sylveon. Just to try and get some Protect off and potentially get out of range of this thing. If it's not a Specs variant, after a Protect, I will live any hit from it. Or, actually, no. I didn't even go for a Protect. So, maybe it was a sense that if he was Specs, he killed me. And then if he wasn't Specs, he did not kill me from this range. I really forget. We were pretty darn... we had a decent amount of Spadef on this thing. As he is going to U-turn, revealing to not be Specs, which is obviously good to know for me. And I get a nice little Moonblast off on something. Do a little bit of damage in the meantime, which is great. Now, as dumb as this sounds, I actually do have a potential endgame here in my Garchomp, as he elects to sack off the Keldeo instead, which was very, very interesting to me, especially considering he did have a Togekiss in the back. So maybe he was, I believe he was a more offensive Togekiss. I believe he was Scarf, so maybe he just didn't want to take damage on it because of that. I really don't know, because him giving me this Keldeo actually opened up a Stone Edge endgame for me. And the way that's opened up for me, right, is I don't Oko Togekiss, but it doesn't Oko me. I can 2-hit KO with Stone Edge. I also Oko Darmanitan from full, unless he's very, very offensive with that thing, and I kill it with a Stone Edge. My out at that point would be either him choking and going hard Pult on a Stone Edge, and I get the roll and 2-hit KO it, or him missing a Draco Meteor and me getting the roll and 2-hit killing it, or getting a crit and somewhere in between. He has to either miss or hard switch into it. There's not really much else that he can do. This next turn, I am going to Protect on this Darmanitan as it goes for an Earthquake, as I definitely don't live an Earthquake, but, you know, it was worth scouting and seeing what it wanted to go for or anything like that. I can see him not wanting to miss with Crash, as we are going to see, though, actually, this was Zen Mode Darm. Now, do I know why it was Zen Mode Darm? I guess the coverage was nice versus my team. But personally, I felt like just like Scarf or Band exerted so much pressure if he could correctly predict and go from there. I definitely don't think it was very good into the Jellicent matchup, because I know he didn't have like Lash Out or whatever the move is that it gets for that. So regardless, we know that he is not Scarf. We know that he is, what do you call it, Zen Mode. And we also know that we can Oko this thing with a Stone Edge. Now, if he chokes and goes hard into his Dragapult and we get a crit, or we get the roll to a KO, we could potentially win the game. Unfortunately, he does not switch, which is funny because we actually did get the crit this turn. So if he choked there, obviously if my opponent played worse than me, then I win, blah, blah, blah. But if he would have choked there and went there, we actually would have gotten bailed there, which would have been nice. But he makes the correct play, and he obviously just stays in and sacks off his Darm. He can't let me set up either. Maybe if I was Swords Dance, I could bait a miss. I could Swords Dance into Scale Shot and then win, because again, he was offensive. He probably could have made the potential hard Togekiss play as well, but again, these are plays he has to make personally. But he's going to go on his Pult right here, and all I can do is hope for a crit and a miss. If he misses his Draco Meteor, I will win the game potentially, depending on rolls and depending on if I get another lucky crit or something like that, because Togekiss can't OHKO me. But unfortunately, we are not going to get the crit, and he is not going to miss, and we're going to lose this game. This one really stinks, just like the J-Bear one, man. I really think I could have positioned myself well offensively to break better with Scolipede to win this game, and if I had a whole Heatran, I would have been in a good position against this Dragon Bolt still, and I could have sacked off Sylveon and just, you know, played a lot differently than this game ended up going. So this one was incredibly frustrating for me. But this whole season has been, and there's not much I can do about it. You know, it's not Hayes' fault. But games like this are really, really frustrating, especially when you put in the time and you're slumping right now, like I'm slumping, and you end up losing a game that you don't feel as if you should have just raw lost turn 5 or whatever it was to the Delmise. So what can you do? Like I said, Hayes is a great kid. I really implore you to go check him out. I like the guy a lot. It's just unfortunate he kind of had to hacks me a little bit here, just like good old J-Bear. Who knows though, maybe we can bounce back next week. Our season is all but over playoff wise, but I'm not going to stop trying or giving up or anything like that. I want to, you know, improve off what I'm doing, and that's the whole point of playing this format, is improving and getting better and getting to the next step. And I'm slumping right now, but I know it's right there, and I know I know I'm a top 5-3 player in the Wi-Fi community, at least in my mind. I'm just shitting the bed right now, and that happens. So hopefully I can do better. Hopefully I can do better for you guys. But there's not much I can do about this one. I'm not upset with myself, at least at this game, like I was with previous games, stuff like that. This game was kind of just taken away from me a little bit, but that's it's unfortunately how it goes. It feels like when you're playing bad, you get more unlucky too. Maybe it's just a result of poor positioning. Who knows? Thank you guys for watching, though. If you enjoyed, drop a like. If you're new here, drop a sub. I'll see you guys next time. Later.